Today's lesson is called Species Under Threat. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
My name is Roger, and today we're going to continue talking about how the world is going to pot. And today we're talking about species that are being threatened with extinction. We've got all sorts of problems. We've got overpopulation. We've got global warming. We've got resources being used up. We've got viruses. My goodness, what kind of world are we living in? And now we're talking about species under threat. Some kinds of animals and plants are going to disappear forever.
There you go. Today we're going to be talking about something really kind of sad. Species under threat. We're not talking about single animals dying. That would already be sad enough. We're talking about entire groups of animals dying off. How sad. Yes, we've got species under threat. They are at risk. They are in danger. They are endangered. But yes, here when we're talking about a species, we're talking about a specific type or kind of animal. Okay, usually when you're talking about a species, you're talking about a group of animals, and those animals, they can make babies with one another, and those babies can make babies as well. Like, I have heard somewhere that lions and tigers can make babies together, but those babies can't make babies, okay? They don't make viable offspring, because lions and tigers, they're both cat-like, but they're different species of cats. So there you go. We've got species, entire groups of animals that might die off. Are we going to lose tigers? Are we going to lose lions? I don't know, but it doesn't sound good because species are under threat. Anyways, that's enough talk for now. Let's go ahead and take a short break, but when we come back, we'll start reading from our article called Species Under Threat.
Species Under Threat. The world is full of amazing animal and plant species. However, due to a variety of factors, many of which are caused by humans, some species are dying out at an unprecedented rate. Roughly 1 million species are currently at risk of going extinct. Among them are these 3 wonderful living things.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 unprecedented 这个字是形容词，指前所未见的，绝无仅有的。例如 The country's economy experienced unprecedented growth last year. 该国的经济去年经历了前所未见的成长。或是 The museum had an unprecedented number of visitors this year. 这间博物馆今年的游客数是史上之最。接下来我们看到副词 roughly 指大概的，粗略的。例如It takes roughly 4 hours to drive to my hometown from here. 从这里开车到我家乡大概要4个小时。另外，这个字的字尾去掉 ly 就成了形容词 rough， 有以下几种意思。第一，指大约的、粗略的，像是 Vincent drew a rough draft of his building plan. Vincent 画了他建筑计划的概略草图。第二，指难熬的、艰难的，例如Tanya had a rough night after she learned that her company was going to fire someone. Tanya 得知公司要遣散某人的当晚感到相当难过。第三，指粗野的、粗暴的。举例来说 Eddie can be rough on his son sometimes. Eddie 有时候对他的儿子很粗鲁。再来，我们看到单字 extinct 这个字是形容词，指灭绝的、绝种的。例如 With the popularity of mobile phones,Public payphones have nearly become extinct. 随着手机的普遍，公共电话几乎快要消失了。另外，补充一个相关片语 die out 表示渐渐消失、逐渐灭绝，像是 Many diseases have died out as a result of medical advancements. 许多疾病因为医学的进步已经逐渐消失了。
Okay, so species, okay, you could also pronounce this word species. They're under threat. If something's under threat, that means it's in trouble, and unless we do something, it might get killed or disappear. So here in the first paragraph it says, the world is full of amazing animal and plant species. However, due to a variety of factors, many of which are caused by humans. Some species are dying out at an unprecedented rate. This is a long sentence, so let's break it down for you. It begins by saying the world is full of amazing animal and plant species. That's wonderful. It's great. We've got lots of different kinds of animals. We've got lots of different kinds of plants. These are plant species and animal species. But, however, because of a variety of reasons, for a variety of factors, some species are dying out at an unprecedented rate. And also notice here we've got a clause due to a variety of factors because of various reasons, and those reasons, most of them are caused by humans. Well, as a result of that, lots of species are dying out not like they had before. So, yeah, let's talk about some of these terms here. First of all, dying out. You can't say that about an individual person. My brother has cancer, so he's dying out. No, you can't say that. If you're talking about large groups of animals like the dinosaurs or whatever, we say they die out. Like the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago.
They died out. They went extinct. This is happening at an unprecedented rate, i.e., it's happening at a rate unmatched at any time in history or in the past has ever happened that is like this at all. Maybe the extinction of the dinosaurs can compare, but we just don't know enough at this particular point. But we do know it's bad. We do know it's extraordinary. This is unprecedented. Anyways, the next sentence says, roughly 1 million species are currently at risk of going extinct. And this is not good, and there's no typo in this particular sentence. It says roughly 1 million species, not 1 million animals, 1 million groups of animals, types of animals, 1 million species are currently at risk of going extinct. That means they could go extinct. It is within the realm of possibility. Also, at the beginning of this sentence, we have the word roughly. When we are approximating, sometimes we can use this word roughly. So approximately 1 million species, about 1 million species, or roughly 1 million species here are under threat. They could go extinct. Now, earlier we talked about extinction. When all the animals in a certain species die and there are no more of those animals left, that particular species has gone extinct. Okay, that's the idea here. You go extinct, or your species might face extinction. One way or another, if a species goes extinct, this is bad. There are no more of those animals left on planet Earth, so they can't make any more of those animals. They die off and they never return.
Yeah, remember I said the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago? Well, I could also say the dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. So roughly, yeah, that's a rough estimate. I could say roughly half of my classmates like to eat hamburgers. The rest, they hate them. The very thought of eating a hamburger makes them sick. So yeah, roughly half. I don't know the exact number. And then back to this term at risk of, I could say, hey, if you keep playing on your smartphone during office hours, you are at risk of being fired. And gee, if everybody does that, if all human beings do that, then human beings are at risk of going extinct themselves. So among them, among these plant and animal species, are these three wonderful living things which we're going to focus on today. All living things are special in their own way, but we are going to focus on these three things that we think are especially special. So let's get to it. After we move on to the second part of our lesson, we'll listen to it first.
The Andean Condor. The largest flying bird in the world, the Andean Condor is found in the Andes mountain range of western South America. With a wingspan of about 3.3 meters, it can fly for up to 160 kilometers without even flapping its wings, gliding on the strong, warm air currents for hours at a time. These birds also play an important part in the folklore of the Andes and feature in Andean art dating back to 2500 BC. Recently, however, their numbers have been dropping dramatically. Andean condors primarily feed on rotting animal bodies, especially those of foxes and pumas, which are considered pests by the local farmers. To get rid of these pests, farmers use poison. The condors, in turn, eat the poisoned meat, and often die too. Hence, there are only about 6,700 of these beautiful birds left in the world.
第二部分，我们看到名词 Wingspan， 指鸟、飞机或是昆虫的翼展、翼长。例如 The parrot in the cage has a wingspan of about 30 inches. 那只在笼子的鹦鹉翼展大约有30英寸。再来，我们看到一个单字 flap， 这个字是动词，指振翅、拍打、摆动，像是 Some birds flap their wings a few times before taking flight. 有些鸟会拍打翅膀几次后才起飞，或是 I could hear the flag flapping in the breeze from inside the house. 我在屋里就能听到旗子在风中摆动的声音。另外，这个字也可以当名词，指盖口、布、皮等可以掀开的扁盖。例如 The flap in front of the tent was left open, and many insects flew inside it. 帐篷门是掀开的，所以有许多昆虫溜了进去。最后，我们看到片语feed on or upon， 表示以点点点为食，靠吃点点点为生。举例来说 Hundreds of birds came to feed on the insects that were hatching in the field. 数以百计的鸟前来啄食这片田野上正在孵化的昆虫。另外，这个片语还可以表示因点点点的帮助而增长，像是 The political movement fed on the anger of the people. 这场政治运动因为人民的愤怒而推波助澜。
Everyone, I've got some bad news. About 1 million species are under threat right now. They could go extinct. About 1 million species. How can we talk about all of them? That would be impossible. So instead, we're going to talk about 3 wonderful living things. 3 species that are under threat right now. The first of these is the Andean Condor, a very special bird there that lives in the Andes.
Okay, very good. Now, the Andes, of course, that is a mountain range in South America that extends, all the way from Venezuela down to Chile and Argentina. So it's quite a long mountain range. So this particular bird lives in this part of the world, and it's a condor, which is a bird that's kind of like an eagle or a falcon or a hawk or something like that. So the largest flying bird in the world, the Andean Condor, is found in the Andes mountain range of western South America. That's basically what I just said. The Andes mountain range is in western South America, and this particular bird, or this condor, lives there. It's found there, and it's also the largest flying bird in the world. I thought it was the eagle or something, or the serpent eagle here in Taiwan. Those
or the albatross. I've heard those are very big.
The albatross is really big too, with a 3-meter wingspan, but it turns out that the largest flying bird in the world is actually the Andean condor. And oh no, it sounds like it's at risk of going extinct.
Oh, and that's too bad, because this is a majestic bird. The Andean condor is. Get this, it's huge. Yeah, very often when you want to talk about how big a bird is, you want to talk about its wingspan. Have that bird stretch its wings out to the maximum extent there and then measure from tip to tip. That would be the wingspan for a bird. And you can do the same thing for other flying creatures, birds, and also flying machines as well. Certain planes, you can measure them by way of their wingspan. That would be the maximum width of a plane, so to speak. Anyways, the Andean condor, it's a majestic bird, and sadly, it might just be on its way out. With a wingspan of about 3.3 meters, it can fly for up to 160 kilometers without even flapping its wings, gliding on the strong, warm air currents for hours at a time. So we've got a bird. It's amazing. It's got this wingspan here. And boy, is this wingspan ever functional? Once the Andean condor gets up there in these particular air currents, it can fly for a really long time. It can fly for up to 160 kilometers, not meters, kilometers, without even flapping its wings. It just extends its wings, and the wings stay out there. They don't have to flap those wings at all. The wings don't go up and down so as to move this bird or to keep it up there in the sky. No, no, no. It just glides. It doesn't need to flap its wings at all.
Yeah, flap here as a verb that just means to move wings up and down. Other things can flap. I suppose flags kind of flap in the wind, especially if they make that sound as the wind is blowing past them. But we do talk about birds flapping their wings. They just simply move them up and down. Hummingbirds do that as well. So they flap their wings sometimes, but hey, if they can figure out where those rising warm air currents are, well, they can just sit there on top of that warm air and they don't have to flap their wings at all. They just glide for hours on those warm air currents. So here we've got glide. That just means you just kind of move through the air without moving your wings or without the propeller moving at all on the airplane, for example. There are gliders, as you know. Those are flying aircraft that don't have any power. They just glide through the air and they eventually land on the ground. You could also say coast. I believe that word is acceptable as well. Now, these birds also play an important part in the folklore of the Andes and feature in Andean art dating back to 2500 BC. So these birds have been around for a long time. So they are an important part of the folklore of the people who live in the Andes Mountains. Some of the Aboriginal people, the Indians, I guess you could say, of those mountains there, they're all part of the folklore. Folklore is basically just the traditional beliefs or the customs or the religion or the art or the stories of a particular culture.
Folklore is always a very important part of a culture, and the Andean Condor is very important to Andean folklore. So these tales, what will they be if this Andean Condor disappears? They'll be missing a central element. These stories that get told time and time again, they'll be missing the living embodiment of something found in those stories because that Andean Condor will no longer be with us further. This particular bird has been featured in Andean art for a really long time, okay? You can date back references to this bird to 2500 BC. Amazing. That's a really, really long time ago. Now, recently, however, their numbers have been dropping dramatically. So we're not talking about a gradual decrease in the number of Andean condors. No, there has been a dramatic decrease in their numbers, or there has been a dramatic drop in their numbers.
Right, there has been a dramatic drop in their numbers, and Andean condors primarily feed on rotting animal bodies. Hey, that sounds pretty tasty, especially those of foxes and pumas, which are considered pests by the local farmers. So they feed on these things. If you talk about animals and what they eat, we describe what they feed on. Like if you describe various bird species, we say, oh, they feed on vegetables and insects, or they feed on berries or things like that. That's what they eat. It's part of their diet. We don't use this word to describe humans, like humans feed on pizza and hamburgers and fried rice. We don't really say that. We eat that. But again, if you're talking scientifically, we describe animals that way. Yeah, they feed on the meat of rotting dead animals. So yeah, these are animals that have died and they're lying there on the ground, and they especially like foxes and pumas. A puma is a kind of cat that lives in Central and South America.
There you go. So these animals are considered pests by local farmers. Not the condors, but foxes and pumas, the things that this condor likes to eat. So to get rid of these pests, farmers use poison. They don't directly poison the condor, but when the condor shows up and is about to chow down on this fox or this puma carcass, they'll be eating fox meat and puma meat, but in addition, they'll also be eating the poison that's still in those animals' bodies. Yes, it says here, the condors, in turn, eat the poisoned meat and often die too, and that's not a good thing. So one thing happens and another thing happens as a result, let's say. If that's the case, you can say that one thing happens and in turn something else happens.
So yes, the animals were fed poison, and then in turn the condors eat the poison meat and they often die too. Hence, therefore, as a result, there are only about 6,700 of these beautiful birds left in the world. Okay, so that's the first example of some wonderful living things that are going extinct. It seems to me that maybe they should develop a poison for foxes and pumas, which are not poisonous to condors, but you'd have to rely on scientists for that. Or maybe those farmers can learn to live with those foxes and pumas, but it does sound like a very difficult situation.
It does. Only 6,700 of these beautiful birds are left in the world. That's not good, and that's not really a big number. Less than 7,000? That number is getting dangerously low. Anyways, I hope the Andean Condor is able to rebound and make a comeback, and I hope the same thing goes for the horseshoe crab and the matsutake mushroom, which is what we'll be talking about next time. Anyways, today's lesson is now in the books, and it's time for you guys to hear from the Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。世界上有许多令人赞叹的动植物物种，不过课文一开始提到 Due to a variety of factors, many of which are caused by humans, some species are dying out at an unprecedented rate. 好，那这边要注意有3个重点。第一个是 due to， 它表示由于、因为，意思就跟 because of 或者是 owing to 差不多。那它们都是片语介系词，后面要接名词或动名词。好，那要注意的是 due to 和 owing to 是比较正式的用法，那么 because of 在口语中是比较常用的。举例来说 Several flights were delayed due to heavy fog. 有好几个航班因为起大雾而延误了。第二个补充的重点是 a variety of， 它表示各式各样的什么，那么之后可以接可数名词或不可数名词。variety 前面还可以加上形容词，像是 wide, large, great 等等。举例来说 The shop sells a wide variety of souvenirs. 那间商店有卖各式各样的纪念品。那么第3个补充的重点是文中这个 many of which，这个 which 指的就是它前面说的这个 factors, many of which are caused by humans， 就是说其中有许多因素是人为造成的。那么像这样的用法呢，是用带有修饰语的关系代名词引导子句去对先行词做补充说明。那我们来学习这样的用法。好 which 当关系代名词呢，可以引导关系子句去补充说明前方的事物，也就是先行词。那我们接着可以在 which 的前面加上量词啊、数字、百分比、最高级等等，搭配 of 来表达所占的比例。举例来说Two of which 怎么样怎么样，就可以表达先行词的其中2个怎么样怎么样。那么 some of which 就是先行词的其中一些。The best of which 是先行词其中最好的。1/3 of which 可以表达先行词其中的1/3怎么样怎么样。例如 He bought 5 shirts,2 of which were on sale. 好，他买了5件衬衫，其中2件有特价。那句子里面的 which 指的就是前方的先行词 5 shirts， 那5件衬衫。那么 2 of which 就是表达那5件衬衫里面的其中2件。特别注意的是，这样子的用法啊，它关系子句是用来补充说明前方的先行词，所以是非限定用法。因为我们先行词很明确，你不用限定它的范围，所以是非限定用法。那这时候我们关系子句记得要用逗号跟句子隔开哦。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Roughly 15% of the population in this country is living in poverty. Extinct. Great efforts are being made to prevent the giant panda from going extinct. Flap. Hummingbirds can flap their wings as fast as 80 times per second. Folklore. All cultures have their own unique customs, beliefs, and folklore. Hence, documents tend to get lost or destroyed over time. Hence, much of ancient history is unknown.
Okay, everyone. With that, today's article is now complete. But, as always, we sure hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us. Anyways, I'm Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.